Welcome everybody. My name is Ruth Ibarra. I am the chair for the Latino Committee for SEIU Local 1000. SEIU Local 1000 is the union that represents over 95,000 state employees, the largest state worker employee union that's here. Our purpose for Local 1000 is to build a strong member-led union by educating, organizing, and mobilizing the membership in the workplace, the political arena, and the union itself to improve the living standards and rights of members, their families, and other working people, and to achieve economic and social justice for all Californians. As a Latino committee, we're responsible for reviewing policies and programs established by the state of California, directly impacting Latino, Latina members of Local 1000. Additionally, the committee is looking to expand its outreach to its members by hosting regional meetings and functions, such as this one that will bring Latino and Latina members, the Latino community, and supporters of Latino issues to the table. Welcome, everybody. A lot of us right now are, I'm a state worker. I'm an associate governmental program analyst with a state department. So in our department, we're seeing a high level of attrition, a lot of vacancies. So in discussing it with other committee members, we said, what's one of the things that are really hurting at the job site? And the thing is high workloads and high vacancy rates. So this is one of the things that we wanted to bring to the general public, bring people into state service. And what a way to do it, to partner up with CalHR, who does all the hiring, right? And sets those standards, to give us a presentation as to what are they looking for when they're looking for candidates in the application process. So I want to introduce to you today Brandon Littlejohn, and he's going to be representing CalHR and giving the presentation of how to get a state job, how to get a job with the state of California. Take it away, Brandon.
All right. Thank you, Ruth. And thank you to SEIU Local 1000 for inviting the state of California and CalHR to this event to support your constituents, because we are definitely looking into bringing more talent into the state of California. Like Ruth just mentioned, we have a lot of attrition going on at many state departments. You may or may not have heard of the term, the silver tsunami, where many of the baby boomer generation is retiring. And the baby boomer generation has a large population in the state of California. We produce a lot of reports with the state of California, and many of the reports shows our age demographics that is on calhr.ca.gov. And many legislatures, many state of California officials have noticed that we have one of the oldest workforce as far as age. Therefore, we need to do a lot of succession planning. We need to do a lot of workforce planning, because our employees are retiring. They're not retiring because they don't like their job. They're retiring because we have one of the best retirements in the entire world. We have one of the strongest pensions, retirement systems, and employer contributed retirement systems into CalPERS. It's the second largest retirement system, with hundreds of thousands of people putting in money into this system. The only other larger retirement system and more successful retirement system is China. And that is with billions of people contributing instead of thousands of people contributing. So that lets you know the investment officers that are with CalPERS are making very smart decisions. And those investment officers are state employees. We have over 3,500 different job classifications. 3,500 classifications with the state of California. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint.
Something real quick, sorry, I forgot to mention earlier while he's doing that, is if you have questions regarding the process or what Brandon is talking about, please raise your hand. If you have questions regarding your particular application that you submitted, put the question, raise your hand, and if he could answer it at that moment, because it pertains to that certain discussion point, he could answer it. Otherwise, it would be best to call Cal HR during work hours, and he'll give you that information at the end. Thank you.
And Ruth, can you see my PowerPoint? All right, perfect. Yeah. And then I'm going to switch to the next slide. Let me know if you see the next slide. Objectives? Perfect, good deal. So the objectives of today's presentation is to go through an overview of some of the California civil service career opportunities that we have. I'm going to tell you how to search for career opportunities through our massive website, calcareers.ca.gov. I'm going to explain the assessment process because a lot of people are hesitant of applying with the state of California because they hear there's a test. But I'm going to rest assured that a lot of the examinations / tests / assessments with the state of California might be simpler than you may think. I'm going to go through the overview of the state's hiring process, and I'm going to give resources that are available to you to make you successful in that hiring process. We like to call ourselves the premier employer with the state of California. Why do we like to call ourselves that? Well, we're one of the largest employers in California with over 220,000 employees. Ruth informed you that out of those 220,000 employees, SEIU represents over 95,000. Is that correct, Ruth?
Yes, over 95,000, 9 units.
Over 95,000. That's over 1/3. A little over 1/3 of the population is going to be SEIU Local 1000 represented. And that's why we have a strong partnership with SEIU Local 1000, because they definitely want more members into their union, because we need more people to work for the state of California and to make sure this thing is thriving. So it's always a partnership between the state, the union, and all of our partners, because we have over 150 agencies and state departments. So even though you're going to be applying for the state of California as the whole, you're applying for over 150 different departments. So if you're applying for Department of Motor Vehicles and you call Cal HR, we wouldn't know where your application is because Department of Motor Vehicles is reviewing your application. If you're applying for Highway Patrol is reviewing your application. If you're applying for the CalPERS, Cal HR, California State Teacher Retirement System, Department of Public Health, any of the 150 different departments, you would have to call the 150 different departments. That's where it gets very confusing to a lot of people. Even though we are Cal HR, the Department of Human Resources, we give overall guidance to departments and we audit departments to make sure that they're doing fair hiring. But all 150 departments will hire for their own department. Also, some departments have over 1,000 hiring managers, like Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, which has over 60,000 employees. So you would have to call the specific hiring manager that you applied for the job opening, because we are the state of California. You might have applied for a job in Yolo County. So the Yolo County manager has that application they're reviewing. And we review the application by individuals. It's not a computer system that's reviewing your application. So if you ever have any questions, always make sure you pay attention to the contact person listed on the job advertisement. And that also brings up another point, because people always may think that each job advertisement is the same. Some job advertisements might say that you need to turn in just your application. Some will say turn in your resume. Some will say turn in a statement of qualifications. Some will turn in a cover letter. That's all dependent on the specific hiring manager. And we have thousands of hiring managers, so they all might want different requirements. So that's why all job ads look different. There's no job ad that looks the same. So you should not send in the same application to 20 different jobs, because each job is going to be different, because each hiring manager is going to want different requirements in the different geographical locations. And throughout all 50 counties, we have job openings. So we have job openings in Sacramento, which is going to be our largest population. We have over 90,000 of our 200,000 employees located in the Sacramento region. And that's because most of the 150 state departments and agencies, their headquarters are located in the Sacramento region. But if you travel to Fresno, if you travel to LA, you have realized there's a Department of Motor Vehicles in that region. There is also a highway patrol in that region. There might be a Department of Social Services. There's an Employment Development Department. So there's agencies all throughout California, in Los Angeles, Redding, Mettler, California, Oroville, California, in the most populated cities and the most rural cities. The state of California has opportunities for you. We have great salary and benefit packages, as we've stated before about CalPERS. We also have an alternate 401k, 457, Savings Plus retirement program that you can apply to. We also have an EAP, Employee Assistance Program, which offers free consultation to our employees. We give discounts to restaurants, hotels, amusement parks, just by showing your state of California badge, group legal assistance, and much more. Also, a lot of things that people aren't aware of is the state of California has an upward mobility program. What is that? It's in statute, which means it's in law, that if you're in an entry-level position with the state of California, your management has to give you the training to make you promotable. That means that we have to do everything in our power to make our people in entry-level positions promotable to higher level positions. There's not going to be many employers. Anybody put in the chat that if you have an employer that's not the state of California that says that we have a program written in law that we have to promote you. I can wait. Doesn't look like anybody besides the state of California is offering that. And so that's why we say that we are the premier employer. Also, we have stability. Stability, when you hear that many of the employers are firing employees because of there's a worldwide pandemic, people don't know how they're going to pay their bills, the state of California is stable. And we are actually working on a lot of the worldwide pandemics or worldwide epidemics that you may see on television. So the state of California has really cool jobs because we have jobs with a purpose. We're not just pushing papers, stapling papers. What we do matters to millions, if not billions of people. And the state of California is always on the world stage. What the state of California does is always makes national news, worldwide news. So your work impacts the world. And that's what the state of California can offer you. How do you get started? And before I continue to the how to get started area, do we have any questions regarding anything that was covered previously? All right, Colleen, you raised your hand. If you can please get off mute and ask your question.
Hello. I was curious regarding how to find the manager that you would want, the hiring manager, the specific one that you would want to connect, to ask the question to. How would I locate the specific manager?
On every job advertisement that you apply for, there's going to be a contact person listed on there. There's going to be two contact persons listed. There will be the HR contact, which could be either the hiring manager or the HR liaison in the department. And then there's always the EEO officer, because for many years, when we put one person on the job advertisement, sometimes we would get feedback that that person would never get called. Well, the EEO officer always works. They also have a cell phone. So you can always reach the EEO officer to ask questions about the position, and everybody responds to the EEO officer at the department. If they don't, they'll get in trouble from the director or agency secretary and may not have a job too much longer. So we always, on every job advertisement, you will see the contact person listed. Does that help, Colleen? All right.
Sorry, I was still muted. Yes, I just meant if I wanted to say, like, ask them where the people where I work, how I can get some of these opportunities. I wouldn't really know who to ask through my personnel department, or I don't know if I would have to ask the person for the job I'm interested in, or if I can contact somebody at the department I already work in.
And so you're currently a state employee?
Yes.
Yeah, and so it's always good to network with, like, go to events like this, because you're always going to meet other state employees and hear about different opportunities. Yes, it's good to go through Cal Careers website, but if you go through Cal Careers website at any point in time, you can see there's 35 to 3,600 different job openings. There's some very ambitious people that want to read through 3,600 different job openings, but networking is always the best opportunity. Going to these events, NextGov also has events, going to career fairs, because you get to meet the hiring managers and the recruiters directly. And if you tell them your skill set, they can let you know about specific vacancies that are happening right then and there at their job.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yeah, networking is always key. So you're already doing the right things, Colleen.
Colleen, sometimes, this is Ruth, sorry. Sometimes even your own department send out the job announcements via the email system, or they have a specific section, job opportunities on the website or on the their intranet system, SharePoint, things like that. So, and in those job announcements, it'll tell you who the HR person is and who the manager for that program is, what program is hiring, and it'll say it there as well. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right, perfect. And so how do you get started with finding a job with the state of California? First, you want to search for career opportunities, going to calcareers.ca.gov. Once you find a career opportunity by either searching a keyword search. So for instance, if you type in recruiter with the state of California, 10 different job classifications might populate, because a recruiter comes at different levels. A recruiter could be a staff services analyst, which the minimum qualifications is that you need a bachelor's degree. It could be an associate governmental program analyst, which means that you need a bachelor's degree and 3 years of analytical experience. Or, because we have multiple ways that you can meet minimum qualifications, you can have 7 years of outside analytical experience. We also have it at the manager level, manager 2 level, manager 3 level, and at the CEA executive level as well. So when you type in a specific working title or general working title, it will bring up all the different classifications that it's related to. So that's a new feature with Cal Careers, and we're always improving our keyword search. Once you find a job, please read the minimum qualifications. We have 3,500 different job titles with the state of California. There are some that you need your just the 8th grade education, like a highway maintenance worker, a landscape maintenance worker. Some you would need a high school diploma, like an office assistant. Some you will need your associate's degree, like you can substitute experience with an office technician position or a program technician position. And some you might need your doctorate's degree, like a psychologist or a surgeon with the state of California, and you need a doctorate. Or you might need your law degree if you want to be a lawyer with the state of California. So all 3,500 classifications have different minimum qualifications. So in turn, you will have a different assessment process and always a job-related assessment process for that specific classification. If you want to become a highway patrol officer, it's going to be multiple components to the exam/assessment process. You can't just tell the hiring panel that you can run 3 miles. You're going to need to perform in a performance examination and show the hiring panel that you can really run 3 miles. If you are a warehouse worker and most of your job is to operate a forklift, in the examination, you're going to have to operate a forklift. We're not going to just believe in a pen and paper type of examination just because you said you can operate a forklift. You can. So we have performance examinations. We also have jobs where you're going to have to testify in front of the legislatures or in front of the courtroom. Well, in that process, you'll have an oral interview for the exam as well, because we want to see how well you can orally communicate. So you will always have a job-related interview. If you're going to be an assistant to an executive or to a hiring manager with the state of California, you will need to really pay attention and read for mistakes. So in the examination, you will have an exam that you're going to look for mistakes. And can you find the sentence with mistakes in it? So you will always have a job-related interview with the state of California. Once you pass the assessment, then you will apply for the jobs of your interest. Now, please remember, sometimes we get 200 to 300 applications for one job opening. And we have the merit hiring principle with the state, which says we can only hire the most qualified person. We can't look at your name and tell you're the most qualified person. Your best friend can't call us and say that you're the most qualified person. We have to see on your application that you're the most qualified person in order to get an interview. That is the biggest problem with most people applying for the state. They do not want to develop their application. They'll tell me, hey, look, I developed my resume, I developed my cover letter. I don't have the time to tailor my application to each job opening because that takes too much time. And I say, well, if you want a state job, you would have to do that. And they say, well, why can't they just interview me and I'll shine through the interview? That's not how it works. The state of California gets audited. And so when the auditor comes and looks and see who we hired, they're going to say, why did this person get hired over this person on paper? So you always have to remember that. You have to have the most relatable skills on paper in order to get an interview. The best example I can give is a university professor who applied for a training position with CalHR. He would never get the interview with us, and he asked me to review his application. I told the gentleman, I said, oh, I know exactly what the problem is. You're talking about everything that you've taught, but this training position is talking about curriculum development. It's talking about advertising training, working with different stakeholders in order to develop training and to secure resources, working with a learning management system. None of the person's application had that information. It just had, I taught. I said, well, you're not speaking to the job advertisement. You just thought the job title said trainer, so you didn't read the job description. You don't have any relatable information. The individual told me, well, you should assume that because I'm a university professor and that I went to school all these years that I have this skill set. I told the individual, unfortunately, we can't assume your experience. If you don't let us know your experience, we won't be able to interview you. The individual said that we were cheating. We just wanted to hire our friends and family. I said, no, that's not it. You just have to redevelop your application. A year later, the individual didn't redevelop their application. They called me again, same story. A year later, same story. And so this has been going on 5-6 years. And the person doesn't want to change their application. And so they have the same issue. So the key thing is to get a state job is to always tailor your application for the position that you're applying for. Just because you have a job title that is relatable to the position, we can't assume your work experience. We only give you credit for what you let us know you've done. So this is our website, calcareers.ca.gov. As you'll see at the top, we have audience-based navigation. Right now, you're looking at the home screen. Most people will click on New to State Service because on the New to State Service tab, we'll have information regarding jobs organized by occupational group, jobs organized by part-time work, seasonal work, executive level work, and more. We have information relevant to just state employees. So if you're interested in the transfer calculator to see if you can transfer into a calculation or into a classification that you meet the minimum qualifications for and that you're within 10% of, you can utilize that. We have information specifically for veterans, and we have a veterans preference program for individuals that served in the U.S. military. Also, for persons with disabilities, we have the LEAP program, which is the Limited Examination and Appointment Program, and it's also an additional benefit during the hiring process and the examination process if you have veterans preference or you're a person with disability and you get certified. On our homepage, you can see that you can do an advanced job search. So you can search by jobs that are posted within the past week, 2 weeks. You can search by department. You can search by geographic location, or you can even search by exams if you're interested in exams that you know that you qualify for. Going on to veteran. Any veteran, widow or widower of a veteran, or spouse of a 100% disabled veteran who achieves a passing score on an open examination will be ranked 1 if you apply for veterans preference. Why does this matter? Well, we have ranks with the state of California. So once you take an examination, you receive a score and a rank. If you're ranks 1, 2, or 3, you're considered eligible to be hired off of what we call an eligibility list, which is just an examination results list. So it doesn't matter if you're ranked 3, you can still get hired. If you're ranked 2, you can still get hired. If you're ranked 1, we can hire rank 3 over rank 1. You just have to be within the first 3 ranks. Well, if you're a veteran and you pass the open examination, you can get a 70%, which is traditionally rank 6 and not reachable. But with veterans preference, all scores will be rank 1 as long as you pass. Also, for veterans who have a disability ranking of 30% or more, you will start off your state service with 96 hours of sick leave. A traditional employee or employee that was not a veteran and that does not have a disability rating of 30% or more, they start off with 0 hours of sick leave. You have to accumulate sick leave. So this is just an added benefit for our veterans to say thank you for your service. I'm going to go over this LEAP portion, and after this, I'm going to ask if we have any questions. So persons with disabilities, we have the LEAP program. Again, that stands for Limited Examination and Appointment Program, which is ran by the Department of Rehabilitation. The LEAP program, similar to Veterans Preference, once you take the examination and pass, then you're automatically ranked 1 on the list. So you don't have to worry about being ranked 4, ranked 5, and not reachable. Once you pass, you're automatically ranked 1. The only difference with the LEAP program is that it's multiple steps. Once you pass the LEAP exam, you'll apply traditionally to job openings. Once you get called for an interview and you're hired, then that's when the second portion of the LEAP process begins. Because the LEAP process is confidential, you do not let your employer know that you are a LEAP candidate. You do not let them know in the interview. You do not let them know on the application. The EEO officer will let the hiring manager know, because they will get a flag in the system once you're hired, and it will say, hey, these are the steps you need to do to ensure that we give reasonable accommodation, and this is the process for LEAP. Now, once you start the job, you go through the JEP, the job examination period, which is similar to a probation, but it's not, because it's still part of the test. You're gonna do the duties of the job, and you're gonna show the hiring manager that you can perform the duties of the job. If you perform the duties of the job properly, you're hired permanently in that position. If you can't, you fail the examination. Instead of being rejected, which looks a little bad in the state system, but failing an exam doesn't really look bad. So it's definitely an added bonus if you're a person with disability to go through the LEAP process. Do we have any questions regarding the information that was just covered? All right, hopefully I'm not boring everybody. Oh, Judith?
Unmute. Hi, yes, I did have a question. You mentioned that the person should update their application that they're turning in and not their resume or their cover letter. So
no, all of that information.
all of it.
All of it. You have to, the whole application packet, depending on what we ask for. Different hiring managers might just ask for the application. So they'll say resume, cover letter optional. And then people will ask, well, do we still turn that in? You can, but you won't get credit for it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just additional information. We can't give somebody more credit over the other person for turning in extra information.
Yeah. Oh, so then you're not referring to are you referring to the application template, like just the information that's being given on that when applying?
So since we got 10,000 different hiring managers, they might all require different stuff. Some might just say, turn in your state application, and then you would just update your state application. If they say, turn in a statement of qualifications, state application, resume, cover letter, you would have to update all 4 of those documents and make it relevant to the position you're applying for.
Okay, I see. That answers my question. Thank you.
Absolutely. And Michael, did you have a question?
Yes, I have a quick question. So the assessment portion, do I go on that where www.calpers.ca.gov? Is that where I find the assessment test? Is that?
Absolutely. Typically, I like to go to the live website and show you exactly where the test is. However, we have maintenance going on our website until 8 o'clock tonight. And so that's why I'm utilizing the standard PowerPoint.
Okay. And then I have one other quick question. So as a veteran myself, that is rated 30% or higher, but I also have some, not disabilities, but I do have some physical ailments. Should I go through the LEAP program or through the veterans preference area?
I would say both, because you can utilize both, definitely. Whatever is more advantageous for you. And one thing we definitely want to stress is that just because you're LEAP certified doesn't mean you only have to take LEAP. You can take the traditional examinations and the LEAP examinations, and whichever one calls you first, you can take that. It's just an additional advantage for you. Does that answer your question, Michael? Perfect, perfect, good deal. excuse me, my allergies. So next we're gonna go into the assessment methods. So we talked about examinations and why it isn't so scary, because you're gonna always have a job-related examination. We have online examinations, which we call training and experience examinations, which are self-assessments. You're answering questions about yourself a lot of times. They're going to ask you, do you have experience doing research? Would you consider yourself an expert doing research? Do you have 1 year of doing research, 3 years of doing research, 5 years? So only you know the answers to that. At the end of the online examination, you're ranked immediately. And then if you are within ranks 1 through 3, you can apply for a job opening. That's our most efficient way that we administer examinations, because those exams are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on calcareers.ca.gov. And going back to your question, Michael, how do you find a job? First, you would search for a job opening that you're interested in. Once you find the interest, you click the Apply Now button, which is huge on the job advertisement at the top of the page. Once you click Apply Now, it will ask you the question, do you have eligibility? And it has a box, what that means. It says, have you taken a test for this specific classification? You'll say, no, I haven't taken it. And then the next box, it says, I want to take the test because I have not taken it. You click that option and it takes you exactly to the test. Many of our tests are going to be online. Many of our most popular classifications will be online. There's some exams that are only given once a year. Let's say Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation Correctional Officer. They have an academy, so they only administer their exam once a year. Same thing with Highway Patrol and their Highway Patrol officers. They allow it once a year. The park rangers, they do it once a year. Senior photographers, they might do it every 5 years, because we don't have thousands of photographer positions with the state of California. We might only have 5, and then we only need it when somebody retires. So everything, it's just all dependent. With the photographer examination, you're definitely going to have a performance exam. You're going to have to take pictures and show us the pictures that you can take. We don't care a written examination. We will ask you certain questions, so it might be a multiple component, but you definitely are going to have to perform that and show us that you can take good pictures. Written test. We also administer supplemental applications, which is going to be an application packet. Usually that's for sometimes attorneys, engineers, where you talk about some of the projects you worked on, some of the cases that you've done in the past. Education and experience evaluation, that's where we look at your application and we rank you based upon your experience. That's also for high-level positions, maybe dentists, surgeons, psychologists, psychiatrists. Will look at your application and rank you based upon your previous experience. So you're always going to have a job-related examination or assessment. To prepare for an assessment, you should look at the examination bulletin, because the examination bulletin will have the knowledge, skills, and abilities that you'll be tested for. Also, it will have the minimum qualifications, and it will also have the duties that you'll most likely perform. The job specifications goes into more detail than the examination bulletin, and it talks about usually the entire series, the promotional series of that particular classification. And the California State Library also has study guides for many of the classifications that you will be testing for. So before you apply for a job, you want to take a step back and you want to think about all your relevant paid and volunteer experience. A lot of people will only include their paid experience, but you don't know all of the experience you're missing out on when you helped with your kids' PTA meeting, when you helped at your church, when you helped at your community center, when you helped with the union, any of that volunteer work that you've done is relevant to the position you're applying. You part of any clubs, you volunteer at the library, all of that is relevant information. Sylvia? Hey, Sylvia, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, as you were writing that down about, stating that about the union, one of the things I have left off of my resume and application is anything having to do with the union, because I feel like that is a barrier. Like the moment they see that you're a union steward, no. So I'm really concerned about that. That really, I feel like that's like giving them a warning. Oh no, heads up, you don't want a union person.
Yeah, it all depends on the hiring manager. I can't say that there's all hiring managers don't have any biases. There's going to be some hiring managers that with biases that aren't going to let us know about it. But there's going to be a lot of hiring managers that's going to think that's a great asset, because to be a union steward, you have to read through laws, rules, and regulations. There are plenty of people that we hire within the state that don't even know what websites to go to look for laws, how to interpret laws, how to write out a case. So yeah, some people don't want people to know the laws, but there are a lot of hiring managers that definitely want people to know their laws and be able to interpret the laws. So it's going to be a mixed bag. I say just definitely apply, because eventually somebody's going to look at that skill set and be like, we really want that. Plenty of people at CalHR had union backgrounds. Plenty of our deputy directors, chief deputy directors, our labor relation officers, our manager 2s and 3s, they get hired at CalHR because we understand that you know the laws, rules, and regulations. And with CalHR in general, because we are a consultant agency and we're always giving advice to different departments and the legislatures and the unions, we have to know the laws, rules, and regulations already. So if another department isn't interested in hiring you, CalHR definitely wants people that can interpret the law.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know.
Absolutely, Sylvia. Apply for job openings as soon as you pass an assessment. That's also a common mistake with the state of California, because some people think that once they pass the assessment that employers are going to contact you, which some may. But that is a older method that the state of California used to do, was to send out what we called contact letters and inform individuals, hey, there's a job opening, you should apply. Some departments still do that, but most don't. So once you pass an assessment, apply for the job opening of your interest. Miriam? Miriam?
Miriam, you have to unmute.
All right. Well, just let us know, Miriam, once you get off unmute. Then we'll definitely answer your question, or you can type it into the chat, because it looks like you're still on mute at this point in time. Oh, there you are.
Hello?
Hey, Miriam, you're off mute. Did you have a question?
I don't know why it's mute. I'm gonna try again.
Do you have a question, Miriam? We could hear you.
Yes, when my question is, when you apply, if you could hear me, how long is the right time for the processing of the application? I know every job is different, every category, but is there a certain time that they have for us to know, like, when should we act and either start calling or start sending them letters or stuff like that?
The only thing is each hiring manager is responsible for going over their applications. And just because they have 200 to 300 applications doesn't mean their other work stops. Some managers are good with timing, and they've mapped it out and can get the callbacks within 2 weeks. Some may take a month or longer. I always say a rule of thumb: if you haven't heard anything back within a month after the final filing date, then you should contact the person in charge. However, there's no state law or state requirement that says that a hiring manager has to contact candidates by a specific time frame, unfortunately. Does that answer your question, Miriam? All right.
Yes, yes,
Perfect.
thank you.
Andrea Ortega, I see your hand up.
Yeah, so my question is, like, how do you know which assessments to take before you apply to job openings? Like, are there certain assessments that apply to every agency, every department, or are they specific to the department?
So we have 3,500 different classifications, and then some classifications are going to be considered service-wide or statewide that can be utilized by all 150 departments. And there's going to be some specific positions that are only for that department. Let me give you an example. A highway patrol officer will not get hired at CalHR. They're only going to get hired at California Highway Patrol. A motor vehicle representative will only get hired at Department of Motor Vehicles. A fish and wildlife technician is only going to get hired at Department of Fish and Wildlife. An office technician can get hired at all 150 departments. Staff services manager can get hired at all 150 departments. Staff service analyst can get hired at all 150 departments. An information technology associate can get hired at all 150 departments.
Brandon, like,
yes.
Sorry, just because right there, like, you actually hit my field, IT. Like, how would I know which assessments to take before I even apply to a position?
And so let's say you're interested in a help desk position or cybersecurity. You want to type into the keyword search on CalCareers cybersecurity specialist or help desk or programming, whatever your field is, and then it will bring up the various vacancies that we have that's doing those specific duties. Read the minimum qualifications for that specific classification, and then if you're interested in that position, click the apply now button, which is going to be at the top of that page once you review the job opening. And then it will walk you through the steps. It will ask you, do you have eligibility? And then it will have a description of what that means. It says, have you taken a test? If you haven't taken a test, it will say, click here to take the test. And then you click that button and it will take you to the test.
Okay, like their specific test, like whatever it is.
Absolutely. So that's why I always tell people to search for the job first and then click apply now, and then it will walk you through the steps. We have an automated system that will help you walk through the steps. Even though we make this system a lot more efficient to use, it's we still need people to explain it to, hey, this is how you get started. And once people get started and utilize it, then it makes more sense.
Thank you.
Absolutely. The key also is to follow all application instructions. I stated previously, we have thousands of hiring managers, so there's going to be different requirements for each job opening. There's going to be, for a statement of qualifications, one hiring manager might want 3 pages for the statement of qualifications. Another one might want 2 pages. One might want 12-point Arial font. 1-inch margins. So you have to pay close attention. If you don't pay close attention to that information, you can get rejected from the hiring process. Always submit your application on time. And please note that the EEO questionnaire is optional, but it helps recruiters like myself know that we're doing a good job with going out and doing diverse recruitment. When you're preparing for a hiring interview, you want to study the job announcement. The duty statement is one of the most important documents you can utilize because it's going to break down in percentages every single duty that you'll be doing and what is going to be the most important duties. When you're developing your application, when you're studying for an interview, try to relate your answers to the duties listed on the duty statement because you're going to have a job-related interview. Therefore, all the questions are going to relate back to that duty statement. All the answers are going to be related back to the duty statement. So always study that duty statement and relate your responses to that. And just know that somehow all those questions are going to relate back to that, and throw the what you've been working on and your canned responses to each of those questions. Review departmental website. This is very important as well. There's always, or typically there's a question about what do you know about our department, what projects we're working on, and somebody says, hey, I just need a job. That doesn't appeal to a hiring manager. You just need a job. Have you looked at our website? No. I've been applying for 30 different jobs and whoever called me first. That's not appealing to a hiring manager. You know, we like people keeping it real, but keep that one to yourself. We want people that are interested in the position because we are public servants. We serve the public. We have to have a great customer service for the public. So if you're not interested in the position, it shows. So review the departmental website, look at the strategic plan, look at the workforce plan, look at the succession plan, see where the department is going in the next 5 years. That information is readily available on each individual website. It's there for you, and it's going to give you extra credit and a leg up over the competition. Stated throughout, relate your experience and knowledge to the essential duties and desirable qualifications listed on the job announcement, and read all application instructions. In summary, you want to create a profile on calcareers.ca.gov. If you are a veteran, please turn in your veterans preference form. Michael, definitely turn in your veterans preference form, because you know it definitely gives you an advantage over everyone, and it's an extra reward for serving the country. So you want to use everything to your advantage. Apply for and take an assessment. Once you find something that you meet the minimum qualifications for and you're passionate about, you don't have to apply for the first job you see. The state of California has thousands of job openings. We put at least 30 new jobs on the website, calcareers.ca.gov, every day. At minimum, we put 30. I would say 100, but I don't want to exaggerate. But at minimum, we'll have 30 new jobs on our website every day, guaranteed. Or you can call my phone every day and say, Brandon, there's only 29 extras. There's always more jobs available. So don't apply for the first one. Look for what you're passionate about, and it will help you apply for that job even better because the passion will show. Once you pass the assessment, apply for the job opening, and then you'll be participating in a hiring interview. Some resources available for you. On calhr.ca.gov, we have a lot of great information, such as practice interview questions, resources for state employees. Also, we have a list of all the different benefits that the state of California offers, including the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, Scholar Share Program, pre-tax parking. Over 100 different benefits is listed with additional information regarding that. If you have any questions regarding the LEAP process, you can always contact leap@calhr.ca.gov. On calcareers.ca.gov, we have tutorial videos, frequently asked questions, and the tutorial videos are really short, 2 to 3 minute clips on how to navigate the website, how to apply for veterans preference, how to apply for LEAP, how to develop your application, and a lot more. If you have questions regarding the overall hiring process, please contact CalCareers at calhr.ca.gov. But if you have a question regarding a specific job opening, please contact that specific hiring manager, because they're going to know about that specific job opening that you're applying to. We won't know about all the tens of thousands of jobs openings that are out there because the hiring managers don't let us know about those openings. Also, if you have any questions regarding the CalCareers examinations, you can call that 866 number. And I see that we have a question from Andrea Ortega.
Yeah, it's me again, sorry. I wanted to ask you if there are any like resources or even like tips from you, Brandon, for like students. Like I'm gonna graduate in May, and I was wondering if you know of any resources for recent grads, or if you have your own like personal tips for someone like myself who's graduating.
Absolutely. Staff services analysts are some of our most popular classifications for recent graduates. Do you have a specific major that you're graduating in?
Yeah, so it's in business administration, but the concentration is management information systems.
Okay. Absolutely. Yes, staff services analyst would definitely be a great classification for you to get your foot in the door, because the minimum qualifications is a bachelor's degree, no work experience needed.
Oh, okay.
And all 150 departments hire for staff services analysts. The only thing is that the staff services analyst, it could be doing 50 different jobs. It could be a recruiter, you could be working in IT, you could be working on legislation. So you always want to read the job description for a staff services analyst. Similar to an associate governmental program analyst, it's general in nature, so you could be working in hundreds of functions. I'm sure, Ruth, you can, if you don't mind getting off mute and letting them know all the different functions an AGPA can do.
Definitely. So for example, my job, I started off as an SSA. I was a legislative analyst, where I would look at bills and analyze the bills, right? And how it was impacting our department and our constituency, our stakeholders. Right now, I do regulations, I process regulations. So any regulation that my division and my department is doing, I'm the one that reviews it to see if it meets the administrative procedural act, and so which they need to meet in order to become law and be approved by the Office of Administrative Law. But you could also be doing something as transactional. If you work for somebody that's taking fees in, you could be doing ombudsman work, you could be on a call center. SSA AGPA is very broad, so it could be anything. I heard you were doing the business with the technology part of it.
Yeah.
Going into IT and looking at the information technology classification, and look at the different classifications in there, the series itself, and see where you fit in. And then just kind of, again, this is where it's really important to cater your application to every different job application you're looking at. And it's really important that when you're looking at different jobs, that you look at the job duty statements, because that's practically what you're going to be working on, and you add some of those keywords in there, and you put those, like if it says 35% of your job is doing this, and that's the massive amount of work you're doing, then you want to move all those skills that you have that fit into that 35% up at the top, and make sure you use keywords. Like if you're applying for an analyst position, then you say that you have analyzed things, right? That you know how to research, that you know how to categorize things, that you know how to collect data. So depending on what the job is, it's really important to look at those job duty statements and make sure that your job application caters to that, because that's the first thing they're going to see. They don't care about the resume, they care about the application.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Brendan and Ruth.
Absolutely. And Sylvia Castro, I see that you have your hand up. Hey, Sylvia.
Oh, there we go. I'm sorry. I was talking, not realizing I was still muted. Okay. Okay. After the interview is over, and say you finally get the notice that you did not get the job, how can you follow up on that? It just seems like, particularly now with teleworking, there's no way of finding out if you got a fair interview. You know, how do you know that maybe the person they hired was, you know, chosen over you, but you know, how do you determine that? I mean, because it's like you don't know who got hired, you don't know if you were discriminated against, or you know, what kind of recourse do people have, and who should you contact after that? I mean, what is the steps?
There is an appeal process if you feel that there are any irregularities in the interview process. If you feel that you've been discriminated against, you would just have to make a case to the state personnel board of what you thought was an irregularity in the interview process. The only thing with the state of California is we have a structured interview. So we have to ask everybody the same interview questions in the same order, and we don't give any feedback. So usually it's pretty standard. We don't laugh, we don't talk. So it's kind of hard to prove that we were off the rail in an interview because we have multiple people on the panel, and usually the panel questions are standard. But if ever you feel that you are discriminated against, you have that right to write into the state personnel board for investigation.
And there's also the option that if you know one of the panelists is going to be biased against you, that you request that panelist be removed, you know, because they're not going to be fair in judging you. So you have every right to do that as well.
Absolutely. And if you don't know any of the panelists, it's always best to get a contact information and an email address during the interview or after the interview, so you can, you know, say a thank you after the interview, but really so you can have their contact information and follow up with them. There are really cool hiring managers. Not every single hiring manager will meet with you, but there are plenty that if you say, hey, do you mind meeting with me and just let me know how I can improve for next time? And plenty of them will give you that feedback if you just ask them. Because a lot of times you don't hear yourself talk, you know, because I've met with plenty of people that thought they did excellent on the interview. And then back when we were taping exam interviews at another department, we would allow the panelists sometimes when they appealed or the person that interviewed to listen. This is in an exam interview. They would listen to their interview and they go, wow, I didn't realize I sounded like that. I thought I answered it way better than I did. I was all over the place. So sometimes it's that, you know, you just got to get that feedback from the panelists sometimes, and it's just about asking. Miriam, did you have a question? And then Miriam, you're on. Perfect.
I have a question. Going back to what you said with all those websites, is it possible you could send those to like my email and stuff? Because I know it's a lot to remember, the websites that you said to check for the jobs and stuff like that. That's one of my questions. And the second question is this. Myself, I already work at state, but I'm trying to improve myself and get something better, because the kind of work that I do is just getting me injured. There goes my question. Would because I feel like it's kind of lying. Would I, like, for example, I got into a workers' comp situation. Should I bring that up or just forget it, or they already know because they pulled your information out and they already know?
No, you only want to give information relevant to the job. So you don't want to talk about if you have a workers' comp claim against another employer. You just want to talk about the job you can do for that specific employer.
Okay, because that's how I felt that they tricked me last time. That they told me everything. They already knew everything, and if I say a lie, they were not gonna hire me. And so I went and said, "Oh, I'm in a workers' comp team, but I'm about to be released and go back to work. I'm just waiting for the maybe like 4 days and stuff." But then the lady came back and said, "Oh yeah, but since you're in workers' comp, we cannot hire you like that."
Well,
And I left.
that's a HIPAA violation, and you could sue for hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars that employer for saying that.
Like crying because then I was released to go back full duty to my job, but I left crying. I said, "Oh, maybe I wasn't good enough." Then I saw the person that got hired, which was a coworker of mine. I said, "Wait a minute!" I said, "Oh my God, he has a worse for me a worse record than I do, and he got hired." I said, "That was my position," and that's how I felt. Like
So medium, if you feel that that was the case, like what one of the things that Brandon said was, it's a HIPAA violation, but also you could do what's called a merit appeals. So you could have a merit appeals, you could have challenged that. What bargaining unit are you in?
I'm in 15.
Okay, so you were represented by SEIU Local 1000. What you could do is contact the MRC at 1-866-471-7348. And they could also represent you on that. So that is why, and you also, I believe, qualify for upward mobility. So it's something that you want to discuss with your supervisor or with your HR department.
Because my other question to Brandon is this: I'm still like old fashioned. I'm not really high tech with computers and stuff because my kind of job is basically manually stuff. But they back in the days they promised us they were gonna show us how to do a resume, this stuff, and I know nowadays people don't even use resumes no more. And I don't like to see you guys are gonna have a program where they could brushing up a little bit, so teach us like the high technology so we could move forward in a better job. Like for example, myself, I'm trying before I retire, I want something that I'm not getting hurt and I could get a little upper mobility and also extra little money because I've been with the state for a little while and since I'm stuck there.
Okay, medium. That's something that we've been discussing for a minute, like with some of us that are in the union's leadership, is how do we work with folks that are in unit 4s and unit 15s to bring them up to another way of working where you don't have to work so hard, and teaching you how to do a resume and using like the Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, things like that. So that's something that we're talking about and looking into. But I will email you on the side, medium, and see if we could help you on a one-on-one basis. Okay.
Okay, yes, thank you. And I appreciate this kind of meetings you're doing because it's the first that I've seen in 15 years of state that you guys are helping people, because I kind of bumped into this job by myself and it was really hard. And 600 people took the test. I was chosen and I feel lucky because you have blessed me a lot. But I know that there's a chance to advance, for me.
Thank you, medium.
Yeah, the state of California has over 22 bargaining units. And I have to say that SEIU Local 1000 is definitely, in my opinion, just my opinion, definitely the best as far as they care the most about their employees. They're always partnering with state agencies, especially CalHR, to do big events to not only get more people into the state, but promote their people. They're always hitting CalHR up in the state of California about, hey, there needs to be more upward mobility programs for our people. SEIU does not sit around twiddling their thumbs. They make sure they're fighting for their employees 24/7. You know that behind the scenes, and you'll know if you meet any of their employees like Ruth, they're very passionate about their job. So you're definitely in good hands. And if you just stay informed and stay involved, I'm sure there's going to be more series in the near future that's going to help you with your upper mobility efforts.
Definitely. Okay. We have Eva Gomez. Eva, do you have a question?
Yes, I'm sorry, I was on mute. Ideally, I would like to work 40 hours, but I do see some positions that offer hours at 1,500. Is that something you recommend for me just to get my foot in the door with the state? Because I do have a bachelor's degree and I would really want to apply for the staff services analyst.
Everything thing is always dependent on the person. If you want to work part-time work, that is available. We have permanent intermittent positions. We have part-time work. What you're talking about, the 1,500 hours, that's what we call permanent intermittent, which means you can't work more than 1,500 hours in a year. And so how you split that 1,500 hours up is based upon the employee and the hiring manager. Then we have part-time, which some work 30 hours a week. But if you're passionate about your job, you might want to work 40 hours a week, or you might just want to get your foot wet. It just all depends on the position, the hiring manager, and what's best for you.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Paul?
Yeah, hi. I was just thinking about going back to when you were talking about job duties and utilizing your skill set. I'm currently a school bus driver with the passenger endorsement. So navigating through all this, looking for a job, what would you recommend as far as finding something within the state?
As far as bus drivers, I'm not too sure if we have any bus driving positions with the state. I believe that work
Well,
is.
I have a commercial Class B license. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like a bus driver. It could be something with a commercial license.
Absolutely. And then we have a lot of different jobs with commercial licenses, probably with highway patrol, because they're going to need to transfer a lot of vehicles, especially on heavy machinery. We also have Department of Military with the state of California. That's going to be transporting large vehicles. Caltrans, California Department of Transportation, will be transferring large vehicles. So I would look at any departments that will have large vehicles.
Do you want to continue driving? Also, it's like kind of using what other skill sets you have. I've known a lot of folks that have gone from different positions and going into program technician positions that are office work, to OTs, to office assistants. When I first started with the state, I started off as a office assistant just to get my foot in the door. And then 2 months later, I promoted to an SSA. But those are other options to look at. What skill sets do you have? What classes, if you've taken any trainings, any classes, can you put together to do these other jobs that'll get you in the door until you find your job that ideal job within the state. So there's a lot of, that's the beauty of state service, right? Is that you could pick a lot of ways to join in state service, and then you could transfer to different departments, to different positions, as long as you meet those minimum qualifications. So kind of think about what other skill sets you have, and what, if you want to continue driving, the first thing that popped into my mind was also Caltrans. But there's a lot of other options as well. And
I had one more question too. I'm looking at something right now. It says something about 12-month limited term full-time. What is that?
So we have multiple ways that we advertise position. There's 6 ways. There's permanent, and then there's limited term. The 3 type of permanent is there's permanent full-time, which means you're working 40 hours a week. And then once you pass probation, you have permanent status with the state of California, which means a whole bunch of other HR lingo what permanent status is. We also have permanent intermittent, which was what I explained earlier, 1,500 hours in a year. And then we have permanent part-time work, which is less than 40 hours a week. The other 3 is limited term full-time, limited term part-time, and limited term intermittent. The limited term means you don't have permanent status with the state. You're working for the state as long as that limited term says. So if it says limited term 24 months, after the 24 months, you will have to find new employment. Limited term 12 months means after 12 months, you have to find new employment. However, do not let that discourage you, because a lot of times limited term positions can turn into permanent positions. A lot of times they're limited term because of budgeting reasons behind the scenes. A lot of HR and accounting stuff going on behind the scenes to budget for positions. But I got my foot in the door as a limited term position that turned permanent. And a lot of people don't apply for limited term positions because they want permanent jobs with the state. So I always recommend limited term positions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely. And was that Rupert?
Yeah, how you doing, Brandon?
Hey, Rupert.
So do you have any advice for recent retirees like me who, you know, I retired recently and I'd like to go back to work and work for the state?
Did you retire from the state of California?
No, I retired from private company, yeah.
And so if you retired from the state of California, we have retired annuitant positions. However, since you didn't retire for the state, you could apply for state of California positions. The great thing is there's so many different opportunities. If you want just a seasonal position, let's say the California State Fair that we have from June through August.
Yeah.
You can have a seasonal position working there. And then after that season, you can work for a franchise tax board as a seasonal clerk during the tax season of December through April. That's part-time seasonal work. We also have part-time positions, which we discussed earlier, less than 40 hours per week, or you can come in for a full-time job. It just all depends on what you're interested in. But you would have to apply traditionally, like we discussed.
It's just a regular application, but there's no, I mean, do you have to couch your, I guess you have to couch your resume to, like you said, to tailor it to the job itself.
That is correct.
Yeah, okay. Nothing specific really for retirees that they might have to do then. Okay.
No, unless you were a state retiree.
Right.
Then there's additional benefits.
Okay.
Or any retiree from a CalPERS. Isn't there like, if you were working for the county who's CalPERS, there's some things there.
Okay.
No, we have reciprocity for our pension, but as far as they would have to apply traditionally.
Okay.
Austin?
Hey, thanks for giving this little talk and everything like that for both of you. I personally feel like, I know you talked about it earlier, that one of my weak points in the application process is the SOQs, or the statements of qualifications. Do you have any tricks or anything like that? Should I be answering the questions in response to, with like reference to the duty statements? What's the hint there?
Absolutely. The main thing that I see is the format most of the time is wrong. What people, they don't like to develop a statement of qualifications. They'll erase resume and put statement of qualifications on there. They don't want to put question number 1 and then answer 1 to 2 pages for question number 1. So I see that's a big mistake. Or they'll just talk about their experience, but it's not relevant to the position. There's not too many great statement of qualifications that I've read where I'm like, oh wow, I wonder why you didn't get the job. Usually it's not relevant to the position. So you always have to make it relevant to the position, and always have somebody proofread it, because that's also a big mistake. That's a definite turn off, because usually the statement of qualification is getting read by at least a manager 2, manager 3, or an executive level management, and punctuation or run-on sentences is a big turn off. That's the main thing that they want to see with the statement of qualifications, because every year or every 2 years, state departments develop a SLAY report that goes to the Department of Finance. SLAE stands for the State Leadership Accountability Act, where department directors talk about the biggest problems at their organization. And the top 5 problems at many organizations is that their employees can't write. So over the past 10 years, if you look at all those reports, they'll say their employees can't put sentences together. And so that's why you'll see most of the positions will ask for a statement of qualifications, because they just want to make sure that people can use proper punctuation and proper grammar. And that 1-inch margin, and make sure you pay attention, Arial font, 12-point font. So it's a lot of that.
It's your first writing sample to them. So, you know, it's they want to see, again, like Brandon was saying, is that you know how to write. Believe me, I've seen managers that don't know how to write. I proof a lot of documents, and I have to do rewrite a lot. I used to be a teacher, so that red pen comes out like a lot. And they hate for me to edit their stuff, but it needs a lot of work. So that those statement of qualifications is, do you meet those qualifications that they're asking for? Can you write a cohesive statement and within a limited amount of space? So yeah, so it's just the first writing sample to you. And when I first interviewed with the state as an SSA, it was they did an interview, and then they did a writing test as well. For me, it was like, can you analyze a piece of legislation? What is it saying? And can you put it in a, you know, 5 paragraph essay kind of format in a short amount of time? I don't know if they still do those. I haven't interviewed in a very long time, but those are the things that they're looking for to make sure that you qualify for the position. So, because some of those assessments are kind of like, you grade yourself, right? And you give yourself excellent scores, which you should. But then it really comes down to the interview, your statement of qualifications, your resume, your application actually, and to see if you meet those minimum qualifications and if you are the ideal candidate for the position.
Okay, thank you both.
Absolutely. Good deal. Going on to our next slide, veteran resources. You can always contact calvet.ca.gov because they specialize to veterans, and they have specific employees that help with your veteran resources. And if you need housing, if you need employment, if you want to become your own business person, they offer all of that at CalVet and different classes and different resources. edd.ca.gov is also another great resource because they have Job Centers of America all throughout California. In every zip code, there's multiple EDD offices that have what we call employment program representatives that will help you get a job. They'll help you develop your resume. They'll help you develop your state application. They'll let you use their computer. This is what their job is. They'll have 20 to 30 employees at their department there to help you. They give how to get a state job classes weekly, how to develop your resume classes weekly. They'll have different employers that come into their multiple EDD offices. So if you go to edd.ca.gov, you'll see the hundreds of training classes that they have a month on their website, and a lot of people aren't familiar with it. calguard.ca.gov, another place for the National Guard, and they have all kind of resources as well to help veterans find employment. And we have CalVet's exam section located right there. Throughout, we've been asking questions, and it looks like Sylvia, you have a question. Sylvia?
Okay, thank you for waiting for me. I had a quick question. I just realized. So when they are checking, I guess, on your references or whatever, what questions do they ask your references? Are you allowed to tell that?
Absolutely. Usually they're pretty standard, but they're going to be relevant to the position. So if you're applying for a project management position, they're going to ask the manager how well rate how well do you think your employee does project management? 1 through 5. 5. Okay. Also, we need somebody to research legislation. How well does this employee research legislation? So it's always going to be relevant to the position, stuff that got you the job. Your application, what you said in an interview. They're not going to ask questions about bioscience if it's for an office technician position. It's always going to be relevant to the position. Office technician is going to be organization skills, proofreading, setting up meetings for your management team. They're going to ask probably some experience related to that.
Well, okay, it's because one of the questions people said that they ask, and I don't, you have no way of proving that, is if you had the opportunity to rehire this person again, would you?
Some may ask that.
Oh, is that even a fair question?
Yeah, I would think so. I would think it's pretty fair because it lets you know what type of how well that person gets along with leadership, their current leadership.
And see, that's why I mean by, where being a steward can sometimes get you into hot water, because if you're saying you're a steward, I mean, to me, it would say like, okay, she's a steward. Maybe the, supervisor isn't too happy about her because, maybe she's had to put some stewards or, like file grievances. And so I feel like that kind of stuff goes against us. And
so Sylvia, as somebody who's a steward and well-known in her department, as a steward, I think one of the things is if you're concerned that your manager is giving you a bad review, we've in the past had done had some members that weren't getting hired and they were going to a lot of interviews. And so we would call and say, hey, we're trying to hire this person and you're one of their reference, and you could have somebody do that too. I mean, just to check to see what your manager is doing. Or you could ask also on the application, there's a spot on there that says, can we contact your current management? And you could say no there as well.
Yeah, you list your own references. We typically ask for 3 references. Each department is different. Each hiring manager is different, but you tell us who to contact. So if all 3 of your managers don't like you, I'd probably pick 3 new individuals to list on your resume.
Okay.
And then, am I saying your name right? Ibiang? Sorry if I butchered your name. Last name Rivera?
Yeah, I should have spelled it out phonetically. I was just going to say, I think there's something that we haven't touched on as a Latina. I kind of grew up where like my resume, my application is supposed to speak for me. I don't feel comfortable like, like as my mom would say, like shining, like kind of like flossing or however you want to say it. But during interviews, and I think that's something, that it's okay for us to feel confident and speak up when we're interviewing. And as someone once told me that when you're speaking, whether it's an interview or anything else, it's really important for you to, you're the expert on you, on your work experience, your history, your knowledge, and the other person only has that piece of paper to rely on. You have to do it for them. You have to bring what's on the paper to life in front of them. So, and that's okay. It's okay to be confident and brag about how great you are. 1, and 2, for those of you who are looking to get your foot in the door, I highly recommend the limited terms or the permanent intermittents. It's about getting your foot in the door, meeting people, making connections, showing them that you're capable. And if you're a student or if you know somebody who's going to become a student while they're going to college, there's opportunities for them to become students at the state of California. That's how I got my foot in the door. That's how I was able to show them the work that I could do and produce as a student. So when there was an opening, I knew about it. I knew who was hiring. I knew the work. I could explain how I would be an asset. And so I think that those are all important things to think about. That's all. I'm done.
All right, thank you. I see Kristen has her hand raised.
Hi, I just wanted to echo what the last person said. I came in as an IRR, having just graduated with my bachelor's and promoted up to my current position. And also, like she was saying, I came in on a limited term. So I also did come in, I interviewed, I had a great boss when I first was hired in, and she told me, she said, this is a limited term. We're hoping it converts to permanent, but we don't know. So go on your interviews, keep applying, and find your permanent home. So I just wanted, if anybody is listening that is curious or hesitant about doing that, please do it. It's a great way to get into the state.
Absolutely. Good deal, good deal. Well, Ruth, did you have any final words for the audience or next steps on how we can partner again and continue this ball rolling to make sure people either get a state job or get promoted within the state?
Definitely. Thank you so much, Brandon. This was really helpful and really informative. You know, our jobs, not only as state workers and stewards and union folk, right, is to, you know, uplift the working class. And this is one of the ways we're doing it. The beauty of working for the state is that you got a really good pension plan, you have benefits, it's stable. We get attacked a lot, right? But, you know, we have a job. Like the pandemic, I saw a lot of folks that lost their jobs, and you know, and I felt really blessed to be working for the state, even though it hit me with a couple of furloughs. But I was blessed to have a job that was keeping me housed and fed. So this is one of the perks of working for the state. It's a union job, right? So we go up to the table and we negotiate with CalHR, and we fight for your rights to have a healthcare and have a pension and your wages and your working hours, all these things that we are lucky to have. These are things that the union has won. It's not something that the state has given us. These are always up for negotiation when contracts are due. So just once you get your job, join your union. It's going to depend on which position you get. If you get something within unit 1-9, there's not, we represent 9 units, sorry, but there's other unions within state service that represent other folks. For example, CASE represents attorneys, right? CAPS represents some environmental planners. So there's other unions that represent folks. So just apply. Don't be scared. One of the things that we'll be working on, and we've spoken with the Latino committee, is that we want to do a resume workshop. So look in the future for those advertising for that webinar on how to do a resume that'll get you the job, right? So that's it for me. Brandon?
Like Ruth explained with her journey, the great thing about the state of California, you don't have to stay in one position. When this pandemic happened, I was working at Cal OES, the California Office of Emergency Services, and I was assisting there at the headquarters with the team with COVID screening. Some people also did contact tracing during that time as well. Whenever there's a wildfire, I go there, go to the different locations. I've been to Napa, I've been to Santa Rosa, where the wildfires were at, and giving people that lost their jobs, lost their homes, state careers, and doing state career seminars and offering jobs right then and there. So the job is totally different. Ruth, she became a legislative analyst for the department, and now she's a union steward. You know, there's so many different opportunities with the state of California. Whatever you want to do, the possibilities are endless. And even when you apply for a job, there's different committees that you can be a part of, different projects that you can be a part of. So you're never really staying still. There's never a stale moment with the state of California. There's always something to do. And so we definitely appreciate your time. Ruth, any last words to close it out?
You know, applying is a numbers game. Do not get discouraged. Apply to as many things that you qualify. Take as many of those tests as you can, as you meet those minimum qualifications. Take as many of them. You'll never know what you're going to end up getting. You know, I started, like I said, I started as an OA. I was a teacher. And, you know, during that time when I was teaching, I was brand new and always getting pink slipped, right? Which means I was constantly getting laid off. And I went to the state for stability. And so I did what I did was get an OA position, an office assistant position, which, you know, it's which I took a big pay cut. But at the end, it paid off, right? Now I'm an AGPA, you know, I can move up to management, or I can move up to as a steward. There's a lot of jobs with the Department of Industrial Relations that deal with like wage theft and things like that. You could put those skills as a steward to those positions. So I do put my skills as a steward on my resume because those are our skills are critical thinking, analysis, research, you know, contract negotiations. Because when you're doing representation, you're negotiating at times. So those are all skills that a lot of folks are looking for, and that they know you're a well-rounded individual. So again, this is a numbers game. Apply. Do not get discouraged. I had to apply like to 50 different positions before I got an interview. So good luck. If you have any questions, email us. And I think my email is dlc787.president@gmail.com, or you could email us at, we just got a new Latinx, latinx.seiu1000@gmail.com. That's our email. So you could email us there as well. Any resources that we could send out to you, we will do that. And thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Brandon. This was a great presentation again. This was a great collaboration. And we'll see you next time we have a webinar. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.